Hola tribe. This is a did you know video. So, did you know why we do the healing work? Right? Why do we forgive? Why do we forgive people of past offenses? And you know, I'm sure you've heard it before. Forgiving is not about them, it's about freeing you. It's true. It's true. So forgiving somebody for having offended, harmed, on any way, shape, or form, having utilized a form of greed in order to intentionally or unintentionally harm or hurt another human being. Why do we forgive? Right? Especially the hardest ones. Because we're literally forgiving ourselves. It's not about forgiving them, it's about forgiving ourselves. And so some people don't want to hear this, but every single situation, we are an involved party in it, right? Where there's an aspect of us that is participating in that experience. And so I recently did work with somebody and they were recovering themselves from a place of rape. And this is 35 years ago. And they were holding resentment toward the person. Rightfully so. Truly, it's understandable that a human being would hold that level of resentment to that point in time. And so, why did we do the work and how did we do the work? So let's see if I can break it down and give it to you in little swift little pieces. First, identify what it is we need to heal, what it is we're holding on to. Realize that somewhere in that storyline, there was a part of yourself that knew better. You might not have known better in the moment, you might not have had control in that moment, but moments before, prior to a situation, whether it be hours before, moments before, there was a part of your spirit, consciously or unconsciously, that knew better to not go down that path. They knew not to do something. And so we ignored it. For whatever reason, we didn't hear that voice properly, or we heard it and still said, I should try it out anyway. It's right there where the soul splits. Literally, we fragment our spirit in that moment and we leave a piece of ourself there. And so then we walk down that path and the storyline unfolds, and in the unfolding of that storyline, X, Y, and Z take place, and then we hold a level of karmic imprint, a level of wounded imprint on a timeline. It creates a ripple effect within that timeline. So what do? We identify what the story is that we're having trauma around. We then go back, whether you can consciously know it or not, you just intend for the fact that I choose to forgive the part of me that knew better but chose differently. Okay? And so if you struggle to do that, then a way of doing that is if you have children, right? If you have children or nieces, nephews, family, or just your inner child, or visualize a child. So it's best to utilize a younger version of self or a family member that you can, you realize they remind you of you or something of that nature. And so this person couldn't, they struggled to offer love to themselves, that version of themselves. How could they, right? And so then we identified one of their daughters. I said, if one of your own daughters came home and said that they had gotten themselves into a situation that created that level of harm, how would you speak to them? And so in that moment, that's really opened this person up to realize that they would speak to that person completely different. They would never allow their own daughter to hold that level of pain. They would never allow them to witness themselves from that perspective. So at that moment in time, they were able to look as if it was their own daughter, their own energy was their own, daughter version of themselves, and send the energy to that person and tell them that they forgive them and that it's okay. They made a choice that was not their fault. It's not their fault, and that it's okay, and that they love them even still, and that, you know, mistakes happen. And so at that moment, we were able to open up a new doorway to then leading into forgiving of the person that did them harm. And so they were capable of forgiving that person. However, in the forgiveness of that person, it came with a stipulation. And the stipulation was that, I'm not going to explain exactly why, but there was a stipulation as to why that moment in time benefited their future reality. And so I said, okay, that's a place to start. It's a place to start. So yes, we can have forgiveness for them because you did gain X, Y, and Z from that experience. Can you forgive them simply for having been broken? Can you forgive the other soul for showing up, for having had their own wounds and scars that presented themselves in that moment to which they harmed another human being? It's a lot more, and it was for this person as well. So allowing ourselves to then forgive them and walk that path of forgiveness, because they too were broken. They too showed up from a place of wound. They too showed up from a place of not knowing better. Whether they did know better or not, it really doesn't matter. They didn't behave from a place of knowing better at that moment in time. And can we simply forgive them for having their own set of wounds and showing up from them set of wounds? And they did. They did. So identify where there was a break on the timeline. Can you forgive yourself? Utilizing that self as maybe your inner child, your own personal child, younger version of you, whatever it is you can do, whatever you can call on to forgive that aspect of you. Then work on forgiving them without having to have an attachment to the end result, just simply forgiving them for what took place. And then from a place of totality, we then not only recovered the spirit, we then did a chant of energy to any soul or energy that got impacted. So everything has a ripple effect. So at that moment in time, this incident took place in their life, and that one incident impacted 35 years of trauma throughout their family. And so in that moment, what we did is we brought peace to all energies that may have been affected from that one moment of a timeline. Wishing peace to all energies that may have been impacted, calling it back home to source energy. Yeah. So in our level of forgiveness, we want to look at not just forgiving ourselves, forgiving the others, any and all others impacted, and then simply bringing closure to it by visualizing, intending the energy to heal any energy that got distorted or harmed from that one moment of impact, from all timelines of existence. It was so powerful. So I hope this medicine works for you. Feel free, leave a message down below. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me know how this work works for you. And let's see if we can maybe do a live video or a healing session doing exactly this, doing a soul recovery of forgiveness and washing it clean of all timelines. Yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff. So I'd love to hear more from you. Mwah! Let me know, all right? Tell me down below.